Hi, I'm Midge Shoemaker, and today is day 73 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and recognizing and focusing on recognizing God's hand in my life. So, yay for day 73. Today was terrifying. I'm gonna be honest. I don't I don't know what's wrong with me. When I was a kid, I don't remember being claustrophobic at all. I had some fears, but I think as I've gotten older, they've gotten way, way worse. And for some reason, ooh, I am super tired, but I'm also super claustrophobic. Like the older I get, the more claustrophobic I become. I remember one year, one of my friends, her brother, family, whatever, they would use cardboard boxes and they would turn their yard into this big, huge maze. And I was an adult, but I went and I did the cardboard maze and I thought it was so much fun. And then the next year I went and did it and I got about halfway through and I was literally like panicking and like getting all claustrophobic. And I'm like, I don't remember being claustrophobic. And my claustrophobia has gotten worse the older I get. I don't know why. Maybe some of you out there have had that same situation and you can relate, or maybe you have an explanation as to why my claustrophobia has gotten worse over the years. Anyway, I am very claustrophobic, extremely claustrophobic, and I had to go get an MRI done. Okay, I didn't have to get an MRI done. I chose to get an MRI done because I want to know what's wrong with me. Because when I had the car accident, they did a CT scan, which I don't really remember at all. I remember bits and pieces, but not a lot. Ooh, I am so sorry. I'm trying to get myself to make my videos and not make excuses to not do it, and I'm ready to fall asleep. Plus, I think I learned when I was in counseling. I know, sidetracked my brain. I'll come back, I promise. But when I was in counseling, I learned that doing yawning, the big, huge yawns that I do sometimes is therapeutic. So it means that my body's releasing some kind of trauma. And to me, an MRI today was traumatic, very traumatic. Anyway, so anyway, the car accident, don't remember the CT scan, but they did find a couple of things that were not related to the car accident. One of them is a lesion on my spleen and the other one is something on my spine. And the doctor I saw ordered an MRI from the spleen. He didn't do anything about the spine, so I'm going to have that checked out later. So I scheduled it, and then I kind of freaked out because it was going to be $700, which they told me the day before. So I was like, $700? No, I don't want to pay $700. And then I think God was just telling me that I am worth $700 and I am worth learning, what's wrong with me. And so I am very grateful for that. So I did it. I showed up and then they called me back really quickly. I was early. I was like, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes early to my appointment. So they were like, oh, good. We're glad you're early. We're ready for you. Come on back. And I'm like, awesome. Cool. I'll take it. So I go back there, come to find out that the doctor ordered the wrong MRI. He did one of my chests and the spleen is in the abdomen. So they're like, we have to get it changed to the abdomen instead of the chest. And I was like, oh my gosh. So they called the doctor's office and he didn't answer the phone. And of course it's Friday. So they're like, we don't know if he's still in the office. We don't know if he's just gone to lunch. We don't know what's going on. And if we can't get a hold of him, then you're going to have to reschedule. And I was like, oh my gosh, you have no idea the amount of prep time it takes me to the nerve to come in to do this, because I know MRIs mean you're sticking my body in this machine and so circular machines and you can't move and you can't go anywhere. And it's like, okay. And I remember doing it with my head because I had to get an MRI of my brain, and they want me to go back and do an MRA, which I'm not entirely sure what the difference is, other than I think they put some kind of liquid in you and they still stick you in the same machine. I haven't paid for the MRA. But that was like 3 or 4 years ago. They told me to do that. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I should probably do that to find out why I get migraines. Not sure how much it'll help with that, but it might. Anyway, I know I'm easily sidetracked. I apologize. So back to the MRI story. So I get there and I'm sitting there and my anxiety is rising the entire time that I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, okay, I need to calm down. I need to breathe. I'm praying this entire time. I'm like, God, help me get through this because I can't do this. And so they came out and told me that they couldn't get a hold of the doctor to get the right order. And like, we can go ahead and do the chest, but you're going to have to come back and do the abdomen because the CT of the abdomen will show the top part of the bottom part of my chest, but the CT of my chest will just barely show the top part of my spleen. So it may or may not get everything that they're looking for as far as what's wrong with my spleen. So if they want my spleen, they have to do the abdomen. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, but I am grateful that the doctor's office that I go to is affiliated with the vascular specialist office that I go to, and they're kind of under the same umbrella. They're like different office buildings, but they're under the same umbrella. So it's like I go one place and I do that, and then the billing all comes from the same place. So I gave them the phone number for the other place. So I'm like, look, go there, because they have all of my records, access to all of this information for the same doctor's office. So call them and see if they'll do it, because there's doctors and MAs and whatever PAs over there. They can do it. So they called, and they were in the back for I don't know how long. I didn't pay attention to the time because I was just trying not to panic. And trying not to panic is the right terminology for that. I was mostly just sitting there and praying and going, oh my gosh. And they were going to put me into one of those robes, like have me change into one of those hospital gowns that they do. But I was wearing my scrubs for work, and I had to take my bra off because I had underwire on. So like I took my bra off, I took my jewelry off, and I'm like holding on to all of this stuff. And then I'm in my scrubs for work, and then they ended up not having me change into the gown. So they came out finally after I don't know how long, but they came out and said that it was okay. They got the approval, they got the verbal to do the abdomen instead of the chest. So I don't have to do the chest and come back and do the abdomen, and I don't have to pay for 2 different CTs, and I don't have to reschedule for another day. And I know it's only good for 6 months, and I've only got like a week, maybe 2 weeks before my 6 months is up for when it was ordered in the first place. So I'm like, I can't do this. And I have an appointment coming up in a couple of weeks, and I want to make sure that the PA that I'm going to see, which is not the doctor that ordered the scan, is going to be able to get the results. So I'm like, I timed this for a reason the way that I did. So I'm having all kinds of anxiety just leading up to this MRI, and I'm just praying that it's all going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, that it's going to be okay. I'm like, okay, I haven't eaten, I'm hungry, I can just go home, it'll be okay, I can reschedule. All the things I'm trying to like just think in my head, but mostly I'm just praying to God that it will work. And of course they come back out and I can do the scan, and I was like, okay, I can do the MRI, I'm okay. And so then they didn't make me change into the hospital gown, so I got to stay in my comfortable clothes. I didn't have to take my shoes off or anything, which was super nice. So I'm like, okay. I don't like wearing a bra anyway, so taking that off and taking my jewelry out is not a big deal. Not a big deal. So then I went in the back, and of course they're like ready for me. It's like, oh yeah, just wait here. I'm like, oh no, we're ready. Just come right on back. And I'm like, okay. So, I mean, then they had to, obviously they had to stick my arm and put like one of those little IV catheter things in my arm, because they had to do the dye, where they put the dye in there. So they had like the with and the without contrast kind of a thing. So I think that the order said it with and without GAD. I have no idea what that means, but basically they put the dye in there so they could see the difference. So they lay me down on the table. I get laid down on the table. I'm okay. I'm trying to like put my arms up. I'm like, they're trying to put the earbuds in, and I'm like, I really need to get my own earphones or earplugs or something, because they get those foam ones and they're so big. And I'm like, I have tiny ears and I have crooked ear canals. And I don't know why I have crooked ear canals. I just have crooked ear canals. Might be because I had surgery and they just didn't put them back together right when I was a kid. Or they healed funny. Or maybe I just always had crooked ear canals. I don't know. But when you get those straight little earplugs that are supposed to go in, they don't go in. They just kind of sit like right inside my ear like this. They just kind of sit there, and any kind of jolt or something will just knock them right out, because they don't fit. And they're supposed to like squeeze in and then like go out. It doesn't happen. And if I get them squeezed in enough that I can twist them into where they fit, and it tries to like expand out so it'll fit, then it hurts, because it's trying to. So I didn't squish them down enough to fit in there, and I'm like, they're kind of in, and they're blocking a little bit of the sound, but not a lot of the sound. So that machine is like super loud. And of course I get migraines too, so that does not help, because that thing makes so much noise. So they put me on this table, and then they put this thing over my chest, and I'm like, okay, like this big huge thing, like I don't know, like they do when they do x-rays and they put that big old lead cover over, only this was just like half thing over my stomach. So I'm like, okay, I'm okay. And then they stick me in the the MRI machine and I start panicking, like literally start panicking. Because it's so tight, like the little circle thing that they put you into. And I don't know if it's because I'm just overweight or what, but I was like, I got an MRI once. And when they did that, I mean, okay, it was scary to be in there and I had to keep my eyes closed the whole time, but at least there was like a lot of space around my head. You know, I could almost sit up without, you know, except that I was, you know, tied down to the table. So I couldn't sit up. But in this case, it like literally just barely fit. Like they had to like push it on me as it was going into the machine. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. I can't do it. So they had to pull me back out again. I was like freaking out. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm just a little bit claustrophobic. So we're having this conversation and they're like, okay, well, there's other locations that have like larger machines. So I didn't have to do like an open MRI. I didn't want to do an open MRI because I know you can do that, but they're not as effective and they don't see as much imaging as the regular MRI. And then if I paid for an open MRI and it didn't get the imaging they needed, I would have to go back and pay for the regular MRI. So I'd have to do it anyway. So I'm like, no, I'm here. I'm going to do it. I'm like, just give me a second. I need to just get in tune with God and I need to be at peace and I need to breathe. And I'm like, it's gonna be okay. And I think they put me back in, and then I was like, and then my arms, I had my arms all the way up, and then my arms were like touching the outsides of the thing, and I was like, okay, I can't do it. So they pulled me out, I think a second time. They're like, okay, you want me to show you how far in you're gonna be? Because I didn't realize I had to go in quite that far. The second time I was like, yeah, okay, show me. I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I kept my eyes closed the entire time because I can't watch myself being in a confined space because it makes it like 1,000 times worse. And I was just praying. And at first I was just repeating my favorite scripture. And I was like, this is not working. So I just started praying and just telling Heavenly Father that I'm freaking out. I'm trying not to freak out. And I need some kind of distraction because I can't like go off in La La Land or daydream or do something else that I normally do to avoid having to deal with my emotions because I'm in this machine. I can't move. It's the most uncomfortable position. My shoulder still hurts from a car accident. Having my arms over my head is like the worst. And I'm trying to hold them up like really tight to my head so that my elbows aren't touching the machine because that makes it feel even more confining. And if they're not touching, then at least I feel like I have the illusion of a little bit more space around me, even though I don't. And so... And they told me it was going to be about 20 minutes. I have no idea how long it actually was. I didn't look at the time when I went in. I didn't look at the time when I came out. So I have no idea. But they told me it was going to be about 20 minutes. And they were talking to me, not the whole time, but they just were randomly talking to make sure that I was okay. And of course, there were several times I had to hold my breath too. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I was just praying the whole time. And I was like, okay. And every time I would feel myself like surging in this panic, I was like, okay, God, help me, please. Like, please, I need a distraction. I need to think about something else. And there was always something else that would come to my mind, something else for me to talk about, to think about, finances, this, that, the other, whatever it was, something to temporarily distract me or to remind me that I could do this and that God was there, that God is in control and it was going to be okay and that this was only temporary. And then they put towards the end, they told me I was almost done, and I'm like, okay, I'm almost done. This is good. And then I could feel the stuff go into my arm, like they, through the little IV catheter thing, whatever they put in my arm. I could feel it. You know how you can feel stuff. Anyway, when they squeeze it in there, I could feel it. So I'm like, okay, that was a little cold sensation going up in my arm. I'm like, I'm okay. That's fine. And then the machine, and I swear it was like right over my head, and it was like, I don't know, it was like a jackhammer, and it was going up and around in circles, like all the way up and around my head like this, like multiple times. And I just literally started to panic. I had this little ball in my hand, and all I had to do was like squeeze it, and she would take me out, and I was ready to scream and squeeze the ball and say, I can't do it. I don't care if there's like 5 seconds left, 5 minutes left, whatever it is. I can't do it. I'm just like, I'm done. I hit that point and I'm like, I'm ready to have a full blown panic attack. And I'm like, and nothing that I had done up to this point, I have no idea how long I'd been in there, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was. I'm panicking. And I was like, God, help me. And I am so very grateful that he did, because this peace just came over me and I stopped panicking. And I just thought, I am worth this. And I was like, I don't know why that thought came into my head. I don't know why that brought peace, but it did, because God, I needed it and God gave it to me. And it was just that reminder that this is temporary, this is not permanent, and that God is in control, and that I am worth it, that I want to do this because I want to know what the results are, because it's better to have this few moments of anxiety trapped in this little machine so they can get the imaging that they need to determine what's wrong with me, so that I can get better, so that I can figure out how to help my body heal itself, to get the right medication, to take the right herbs, to do the right things, because I've just been guessing and trying different things, and some things like work or help a little bit, but it's not a solution. It's just it's a temporary fix, or maybe it's part of the solution, but it's not the whole thing. I can change my diet and lose a little bit of weight, but I don't have energy and I get sick and I can't fight things off. And so it's this process, and it takes time, and this is something that I need. And it's the same feeling that I got the day before, that it's like, okay, I am worth paying $700 to find out what's wrong with me. It is totally worth it. I am worth it. I have that value. And not only do I have that value to myself, but God has that value. God values me that much, that he would help me to just be at peace in the middle of a panic attack, in the middle of this MRI machine. And I've had a lot of panic attacks, and I don't remember ever having that peace come that quickly without the whole shaking and freaking out and having to call somebody else to get outside of my head. And it just happened in just that moment, just that easily. And I was like, I'm okay. And I was okay. I survived however many minutes were left. And then they were like, okay, you're done and we're pulling you out. And I was like, yes. And then I was so happy because I could open my eyes, I could put my arms down, they took the stuff off of me, I could sit up, and I'm like, I'm sitting up, and the one girl, she's taking the IV out, she's like, oh, your hands are cold, and I'm like, my hands have been forced over my head like this for over 20 minutes above my head. Of course, there's not going to be any flow of circulation. Of course, my hands are cold. I didn't say any of that. I was just like, I am so happy to be done with this. I am just ready to get out of here. And then someone's like, how was it? And I'm like, it was horrible. I think I tried to say thank you, and I was like, thank you for their patience with me, but then I was like, I'm just out of here. I'm so out of here. I don't even know if I said thank you. I was thinking it, I was feeling it, because they were so patient. They let me go in and out 2-3 times before they actually started the thing. They gave me the choice to schedule it somewhere else if I wanted to, and I'm like, I'm stubborn. And I'm like, you have no idea how much I had to work myself up to and convince myself to come in here to do this. So I'm here. I'm just going to do it because I'm so afraid I won't come back. Because if it's that horrible, I won't come back. But I am so grateful to know that I am worth it to God, that he is willing to give me that instant peace that I needed to stay in the machine, to get the imaging that I needed. And I will get the results. It's going to take, what they say, 5 to 7 business days. So a week and a half, I'll get the results. My appointment's 2 weeks from when I had the MRI. So I'm like, I should have it in plenty of time, I'm hoping. So I'm just like, whew, I can breathe. And then someone else will interpret and tell me what the results are. Because I know I can look at the results before that, but it doesn't do me any good when I don't understand all the medical lingo and stuff that's on there. So I'm still just going to wait until the PA reads it, or the doctor calls me and tells me what it is, or whatever the case may be, because the doctor that ordered it is still going to get the results as well. So, which is fine. I don't really care. It's just, I'm trying to see someone different because I'm trying to keep everything from the accident separate. So not that I have an issue with the doctor I saw for the car accident, I just, until that's paid off and taken care of, I don't want to go back there because I don't want anything to get mixed in with my car accident stuff. So I'm just moving things in another direction, and I'm so grateful that God is helping me to do that, to help me to move in that other direction, and so grateful that he was there to help me, to give me that peace through that MRI. And I was like, oh, I can breathe. And then by the time I came home, I remembered my friend, my sponsor friend that passed away back in June, and she used to say that she likes to hear the good stuff and not just the bad stuff, because in 12-step we always call someone when we're in crisis, But she's like, it's okay to call when you're not in crisis. It's okay to call and celebrate. Like I had some success and I made some changes. So I sent a text message to another Al-Anon friend of mine and said, hey, guess what? I did this and God was working in my life today, and I was able to do something that's terrifying to me and causes huge anxiety and panic attacks. And even on the brink of a panic attack, I wasn't by myself, but God was able to calm me down. Something I would never have been able to do on my own. And I just thought, I am so grateful to have God in my life. And I shared that with my friend, and she was like, thank you so much for sharing how God is working in your life. And then I'm like, okay, I really have to make a video about this because it is an amazing experience, and it would be selfish not to share that experience and how God totally helped me through something that was so terrifying for me to do. Not something I look forward to ever having to do again. Can't guarantee I'll never have to have another MRI in my life, but it will be totally worth it if it helps me to get some answers on how to help get better and have energy and figure out what to do to help my body to heal itself and to work the way that it's supposed to. And that would be fantastic. So that is my experience for today, and I am just grateful for God in my life and grateful for the ability to be here and to make these videos and to have survived in spite of my claustrophobia and my anxiety and panic attacks without having a full-blown panic attack. But the anxiety came right back when I was leaving, and I'm just like, I'm out of here. and my need to dissociate and run away comes back with all of that too. So not perfect by any means, but I'm just grateful to know that God is there and that God will help me, especially with the things that I really have to do that are really scary like that. So, and I know that God will help you with all of that too. So if you like these videos, you can hit like, subscribe, share with someone else if you think they'll like it too. And I hope you have a great day full of gratitude and find ways to recognize God's hand in your life too.